for safety measures to be put in place for such events. I remember I was passing a particular huge project that was everywhere in the news. It was being carried out in a particular state in Nigeria, and I was driving past that place, and when I looked, I saw that some workers were up there, and they were not looking like there were any safety measures on. They weren't wearing anything to protect them if they fell. And I saw some of them just at the edge. And this is a very high building. And this is a government project. And I was asking myself while moving past that place, what's the meaning? If something happens, we'll all run in and start looking for reactive, measures to put on ground to avoid and prevent it from happening again. So how do we address this particular issue of these workers being employed and cases of not having the right measures, protective equipments, or should I say PPAs this time, for them?
Yes, I remember one of the things I learned during my training on safety, health, safety, and environment. I did a training on that, and we were taught that if you don't follow the safety rules, you risk losing your life. It's a golden message. If you don't follow the safety rules, you risk losing your life. So there are many questions that needs to be for workers, or are there safety measures put in place by the government or the organization or the company that is responsible for this drainage for their workers? If there is, the safety officials, are they checking to ensure that these staff or their employees are following through these safety measures? And if they are not following through these safety measures, what have they done to curtail or check incidents like this from happening? Because this is one incident, but what stops this particular incident from happening again is dependent on the steps we take now and how we follow through this particular incident. It's unfortunate a life has been lost. A life has been lost. Possibly he's the breadwinner of his family, of course, as the man. What happens to his family, his wife and children, if he does have one? They are going to be bereaved. They are going to suffer. So safety measures must be put in place. As you said, you cited when faced with an emergency. In this case, we're talking about a drainage, and the man was working inside the drainage. He must have been caught up with something. Who knows? And what do you do in an emergency situation? Okay, also, in case of emergency, what steps can the person take to reach out? Is there a kind of a phone or a communication gadget or an equipment where you can easily press a button that can trigger an alarm?
The problem, or is it a problem of finance, not having enough, or wanting to cut costs?
Well, let me look at it from this perspective.
Okay.
When I talk about the solution, applying solution to a problem, one of it is understanding that there is a problem. Now, understanding the problem is different from just listening or hearing about the problem. The government, the policymakers, those in charge, those in leadership positions need to come to the realization that this is a problem and see it as a priority, as a very important priority, or something that is very important that they need to address. Mentally, in the report, did they follow through it? So when we talk about applying solution to the problem, it starts with realizing that this is a problem. Not just the government saying, oh, we're going to do something about it. Have they sat down to see that this is a priority? People are dying. Okay, is it a safety problem? Is it a safety failure? Is it an equipment failure? Is it an attitudinal problem? Is it negligence? Is it laziness? Is it misappropriation of funds meant for the provision of personal protective equipment that would have saved or minimized the risk of losing your life, because the personal protective equipment might not totally save you or stop you from dying, but at least it will help to minimize the risk of dying or getting badly
skilled laborer to come do one or two things for you. You also need to have these things in mind. The Ekiti State Police Command said on Tuesday it had launched investigation into the alleged assault on a female student of Bamidele Olumulu University of Education, Science and Technology, Ikere Ekiti, identified as Ajayi Gloria. This is to inform the general public, especially all concerned citizens and good people of Ekiti State, that the State Police Command is not unaware of a video circulating currently on social media where a female student of Bamidele Olumulu University of Education, Science and Technology, Ikere Ekiti, was seen assaulting and molesting her fellow female students. The command describes the act as inhuman and unacceptable. According to the video's commentator, the two students are alleged friends, while the perpetrator is a famous mass communication student. What is your take on students? Some students of a secondary school bullying another student. We had the video circulating online with that story. And then this is another one, this time a higher institution. And if you look at the story, you find out that the person who was carrying out this attack on another female student is a popular student. So let's have your take on this.
Popularity does not take away your bad attitude. She's a popular student, but yet her attitude is bad. Bullying is a very serious problem in our society. I think we need to pay a lot of attention to it. I can say during my secondary school days, I was bullied. In fact, not just bullied, I was beaten up by a senior student, and I was just a JS2 student. And what is the reason? Bullying.
No,
That you don't hear it. You don't hear about it. But it's happening silently. There are many people that have been bullied. Even as we are speaking, some people are bullying others, beating them up. It happens in schools. Sometimes in public schools, also we're seeing in private schools as well. So while the State Police Command is addressing this, trying to bring the perpetrator to face the law and to be punished, I hope they follow through. I'm very happy they have taken up this case so that it is going to serve as a deterrence and a warning to other bullies out there. But then let us come to the family units.
Exactly where I was going, to the family, because people are having various cases of bullying, and then like you stated, there are other ones that have not been recorded. And if we go back to our secondary, our primary schools, especially, I remember back then people would always talk about these boarding houses and how these children are bullied by their seniors, and you don't have a say, and then you're threatened. If you say anything, I'm coming for you with my boys. So we've had this in our system for a long time. It's not new. So yes, like you said, let's go back to the family. Is that one of the causes of bullying?
That's one of the root causes, the family. And when we talk about bullying, it's not just in the secondary schools. Even if a child that grows up in a home where, for example, his father is always beating up his mom, the language and what he can picturize, what he can see, what he can visualize, is bullying is the approach, is the right way. So instead of discussing, instead of in my postgraduate class, I did peace, conflict, and security, we were taught that instead of war, you should jojo. It means that instead of always using your fighting, there should be dialogue. You should communicate. When a child grows up in a home where bullying has become institutionalized, You're not a girl. Your fellow girl insulted you. Go out there and beat her. So what are you telling the child? A responsible parent will ask the child, what did you do? Did someone insulted you? What happened? And try to go out and find that and hear the side of the story. It might be true that the child was bullied or verbally assaulted, but you need to hear from the both parties. You need to find out. You don't just need to have this conclusion and then you push your child out there to go and fight. Every little thing, go out and fight. Show yourself. You are a true son of your father. Go and beat that person up. Nobody talks to you like that. You are mentally preparing your child to be a bully. And one thing with
that to the children have never said that to their parents, and it's a problem.
yes, that's if she realizes it's a problem.
She doesn't think it's a problem, because one thing with most of some of these bullies is they feel like they're right, and that's why some of them take videos. Their friends will take videos to cheer them up so that they can discuss it behind, after, and then sing her praises. Oh, you did well. But then, aside the family now, I know we cannot completely take the family out of the picture. Let's come back to the society. You made mention of the parents praising and asking the children, why didn't you fight back? The story of the girl who was bullied in her class, who was being slapped by her fellow students, who has been in the internet. I saw
that's the problem.
Because when they go back to the class, the people they're reporting to are not there with them in the class.
That's where the school should ensure that people can safely express themselves. Confidentiality. There should be a measure. There should be a approach. There should be a step taken to make sure that students can freely express themselves. If someone is bullying you in school, and the school will protect you, and you know that you'll be protected if you report, and the authorities will act on it. They will investigate to find out if it is a credible allegation or not just a false allegation. And if it is credible, discipline. Exactly.
Sometimes we've had cases of kids coming home and not telling their parents that what they are going through in school until they finally lose the child. Then you start hearing things like, oh, there was a time he told me he doesn't want to go back to school. Or is this the reason? But he never opened up to me. So that's how do they make their kids open up to them when they are going through things like this in school?
It's very important because we're talking about bullying. We have not even looked at sexual exploitation.
Yes, that's another.
Because that's aspect of it. Because most bullies don't stop by just bullying. They bully them. They also sexually exploit them with their position of authority they have. Maybe a senior student, especially you talked about the boarding house, a senior student and who is trying to now bully his junior and also sexually exploit or something. So some of these children or students, they might find it difficult to express themselves to their parents. That's where a parent-child relationship comes in. Many parents are not approachable. They are living with their children, but they are not approachable. They have made themselves to become like idols or some kind of strangers to their kids. They don't, or sometimes the child might be showing some signs. And many parents, they're not observant. Like a child, let's say a girl child that is being sexually exploited in school, or she's being raped or harassed and all that. There's some kind of strange signs you see around her. An observant parent or an observing mother or a mother that observes, because mostly the mothers, they spend more time with the kids at home than the father. And they were just like, what's wrong with you? They don't go further to try to build confidence. Like if I tell my mom this, my mom is going to protect it. My mom is going to listen to me. My mom will not quickly wipe me up. Or suddenly the child wants to say something. What? And the child have not expressed themselves. You've already shut them out. So they'll be scared. If I tell mom, she might be like, oh, or quick to judge the person. Or they'll be like, oh, you've become a spoiled child. Oh, I sent you to school. You're going about messing around. You know, they're quickly judging them. You know what the Bible says. You know what this says. You know what that says. As a parent, build a parent-child relationship so that your children can entrust you with their secrets and their worries. Many children take solace on the street, from the streets, more than their parents, because they feel their friend can listen to them. Their friends can listen to them, but their parents might not even be available. Some parents are not even available, even physically. Let's not talk about emotionally. Some parents are not physically available.
You talked about the fathers going out to work and the mothers being closer to the children.
Yes.
But these days, that is not exactly the case, because we have more working class mothers now than we had in the past. So do you also see that as a problem, or it can be well managed?
It all depends on how they are able to prioritize their time. You can be a working class mother, and then they have a father who is also a working class. Both of them are working class. But no matter how busy both of you are, your children are your primary responsibility. What are you working for? Is to give your children a better life. Is to make life meaningful and easy for them. So create time for them. Create time. There should be a mother-daughter talk. There should be a father-son relationship. And I've also observed many fathers don't have father-son relationships. A young boy growing up, he doesn't really have that. He finds it difficult to have this father-son relationship.
Yeah.
Many fathers, that's why you have a lot of broken men in the society.
But why is that?
And bullies.
Why is that? We've had so many guys say, I'm not in talking terms with my dad. And that comes up a lot in conversations.
Because many fathers they are failing in their responsibilities. They are more of absentee fathers than available fathers. I'm not just talking about their physical presence. They are more of absentee fathers than available and communicating fathers. Fathers that are available to communicate with their sons. And why am I saying father-son? These are men, you know, they can sit back and discuss. When a young boy is growing up, he should have this father-son relationship. Even as when he has gotten into, even before puberty stage, some science, the father should sit his son down and have this time, like father-son time. I'm not saying he shouldn't. They should show good example. It's easy to talk, but actions speak louder than words. If we have leaders that can be civil, I'm not saying you should be calm all the time. You should not respond to issues, but leaders, even in their language, even in the language they use, it should not always be a do or die affair. Because the young people are watching people. What makes us civilized is not that I should be abusing somebody. I can disagree with a political opponent, or they are assaulting each other, or they are abusing each other. This is not civility. We need to start acting as a civilized people. We are civilized. And civility is not by this, like this cloth I'm putting.
From the line across the ocean to the land